everyone, and welcome to this week's Camera Ready Confessions, a weekly live stream bringing personal branding and video marketing together so you shine as the obvious choice. I'm your host, Zoë Wood, your video confidence coach, and we are checking that the levels are working today. We're going to go a little bit higher. There we go. All right, I think we're at a decent level now. Okay, there we go. Thank you for everyone who is watching us live. Make sure that if you're watching or listening to today's live stream, you can do so on any of the platforms that you are catching us on today. But the most important one is our website, vcc.training. You can comment your questions, thoughts, ideas, or your own camera confessions in the comments throughout today's live stream, or if you're watching on the hashtag replay, do so there and I'll make sure to respond after the live stream. I always do my best to respond to comments because you are worth it. And for more information about our live streams, our podcasts, our services, you can check out the website again at vcc.training. All right, before I officially begin, I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of these lands on which I conduct my business. I pay my respect to their elders, past and present. I stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people continue to face discrimination and disadvantage due to our country's colonial past. I stand with them in their fight against injustice. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And as we come up to Reconciliation Week and NAIDOC Week, which is fast approaching as I record this live on the 8th of May 2026, make sure you do check out your local events, your local gathering places, and your local markets that are going to be run during and post Reconciliation Week and NAIDOC Week, respectively. These are some of the biggest events of the year. Obviously, still need to close the gap, but they are good events to both recognise your local First Nations people, as well as being able to support them monetarily, which we all need at this time as the world it currently is. But we have plenty of things to chat about in that respect. One thing I do want to remind, though, for anyone who is watching who hosts or runs events, especially those in Australia, or maybe if you're out in other areas of the world, a basic acknowledgement at the start of your event, even if it is just a couple of sentences, doesn't bring down the mood. I'm going to say this now. This is going to be a bit of a rant, and I'll promise I'll get to the rest of today's information in a second. But ultimately, so I went to an event recently, and I want to thank everyone who invited me. It was a really awesome and warm room full of people who really genuinely cared about each other. And the president and the person leading the session was really energetic and really brought everyone up, considering it was a very cold day, which we are currently experiencing a polar vortex here, down here on Wadawurrung land, and it's cold as hell. Well, you know what I mean, though. And ultimately, they just carried on with as soon as everyone got started, not even a mention or even a couple of sentences regarding a brief acknowledgement to our country, which I think is more beyond just part and parcel. And I understand, especially for a lot of different types of events, sometimes you just can forget if it's not on your list, if it's not on your process or systems. I understand. There's been plenty of events where I have run in the past where I myself have forgotten. But do not be upset when I bring it up to you afterwards or when I briefly mention it. The response wasn't great. So breathe out. This is an attack. Wasn't an attack on you. And if say someone was to do the same thing, which they have done in the past, I went, yes, that is very important. My apologies. I'll remember next time. That's it. That's all you need to say. Awesome. Cool. As you can probably imagine, that's not how it happened. But we're going to breathe, we're going to move on, and we're going to thank everyone for the time and the work that they're putting in. Sometimes things can slip your mind, which is why we have a run sheet, and especially when you are doing many type of events, having a run sheet, a list of housekeeping, and again, a basic acknowledgement of country is more than reasonable to start, especially a gathering of many, many people. You're gathering people on First Nations land. It seems more than reasonable to, provide an acknowledgement at the start of a meeting. Or, we could give them money, pay the rent. Just saying. Moving on to today's catch up of the past week. So as I said, it is currently the 8th of May 2026, and as we are currently in Q2, midst in the Q2, we are currently focusing on anyone who is your workshop organizer, your HR professional who is in charge of employee beneficial programs within your company, or if you are someone who runs events, please do reach out. I talk all things personal branding and video marketing. I have experience in virtual, as you can probably guess, as well as in-person events. I have so much experience, it's almost ridiculous, working with workshops and seminars, or even just presentations or panel discussions. Please do let me know. I'm currently available and looking for opportunities. So if you do have an opportunity out there, feel free to send it my way. I've recently had chats with so many people. Thank you, everyone. It's been a very, very interesting week. Thank you specifically, though, I want to point out to Elizabeth, to Carla, Nadine, James, Nicholas, and Donna. I want to thank you all for your time this week. We've had very detailed and in-depth discussions of everything, obviously personal branding and video marketing. And I want to thank you all specifically for your time and the time that we had together to work on your brands. So really appreciate it. Moving on to the podcast, because I have my notes here. Recently, we released episode 110, which is 5 messaging mistakes small business owners make, and Melty Face. So this was a particular episode that we released this week, going back to a more previous episode, relating all about the messaging mistakes most small business and personal brand builders make. And these are mistakes that are quite understandable over time, even mistakes that I regularly make, and I'm the one who's teaching it. So it is completely understandable. Feel free to check out that episode. We've got show notes, we've got details, and you can break things down into simple action for you to take to better improve the way that you market yourself and your brand. And looking into the Vic Podcasters, which is our podcasting group for Victorian podcasters. Now, of course, you don't have to be a Victorian in the state of Victoria to join us. We have many, many people around the world who are joining us because we have multiple discussions about, currently we're gearing up for our Q2 event, which, if I had the details in front of me, I could actually say it out loud, couldn't I? So the the event that we're running up at the end of June, which is specifically Wednesday, the 25th of June, at 6 p.m. Melbourne time, which is going to be, you've got episodes, now what? Let's talk video growth and money and live Q&A. So that is going to be a discussion on video podcasts, which has been the new thing in podcasting. It's not, but that's obviously the platforms who want to make money off you feel, and that's what they're going to push. So if you want to find out more information, please do find it all on the website vcc.training/vic-podcasters. You can find out all the details there, join the email list, Facebook group, and LinkedIn groups to have your discussion, have your opinion known, but also find out more ways to improve your podcasting. And as you can imagine, that there's been a fair few updates in the world of video podcasting, which we are talking about in the group. Ultimately, like one recently, which is where Spotify has decided, in all of their great wisdom, instead of utilizing the RSS feed, and for those who may not be in the podcasting realm, essentially an RSS feed is like your source of truth when it comes to putting on your podcast episodes that every other platform pulls from, like pulls the information and data from that, so it can provide the information, it can provide people to download your podcast and be able to listen, and all that good stuff. Now that they are moving more towards video podcasting, Spotify, in all their bloody wisdom, have decided that they are going to lock people in to their hosting services if you upload video podcasts, which is not okay, because someone should be able to release podcasts and then move to another platform if they so choose, if they get bigger, if they get smaller, if they want to move to a hosting platform, which is the thing that actually you pay for, gives them better money. Maybe gives them a better ad return, whatever it is. It's free market and all that. You do not lock people into these platforms. No, Spotify. We have opinions about that. So feel free to join that discussion more on the Facebook, LinkedIn, and email newsletter groups. And we are getting on to today's subject, which is clear content cuts through noise. Which I understand, and I have had a couple of people this week go, duh, Zoe, that's quite obvious. And I know, that's the point. That's the titles of these Camera Ready Confessions are an opportunity for you to really remind yourself why you're here. But also, I like a good alliteration every now and again. And clear content cuts through noise is a good alliteration, if I do say so myself. But as per usual, we are going to touch on some community questions today, and then we are going to touch on a very special episode of the Unboring Your Brand podcast, which we're recording live for you, which will be going through client success stories. I was a good connection of mine, Judy, who I also had a discussion with this week and I didn't mention in the discussion panel. Essentially, Judy Murdoch is someone who runs marketing root work, and she is someone who we've been in the same orbit in various different communities and events for a while now, and I really appreciate her knowledge and her wisdom regarding things. And I recently started activating my Substack, so if you are a Substack girly, feel free to check me out on Substack. And I released some podcast episodes, and Judy specifically mentioned that I should be sharing a more detailed breakdown of how I work with people. And I realized, oh yeah, I'm currently updating my client success stories section of my website, updating my testimonials, because speaking about yourself is hard, but it's easier when you're talking about other people. And this episode is going to be a breakdown. It's going to be the first of a series of episodes that I will be breaking down, not every single week, but over the next couple of months, breaking down the work that I have done with people and breaking down both the success, but also what we did and how we changed things. So look forward to that episode later today. But first off, let's check in on community questions. Community questions for those, no, I knew it. Now it's under my hair, it'd be fine. Yes, I forgot to mention, yes, I am very fairy-like today. I watched some Sailor Moon. Yes, it's not entirely this, but the moon tiara that she uses. I was very inspired by that, and I thought I could give that a shot. Though, I did realize, and I have learnt from comments I've received in the past, that yellow on my white skin tone doesn't really show up very well unless I outline it, or I have to do a lot of prep work. And I decided, okay, I'm feeling fairy, I'm feeling ethereal. Let's make this a fairy crown with vines and stuff. I have put so much beads and glitter on it. I don't think you can actually tell, but we're here regardless. And I wanted to take the opportunity today just to be fairy-like. This look took a little bit longer than I usually do, but I wanted to thank everyone who enjoys my little escapades with my makeup. Honestly, it's something that I like to do myself, just to kind of amp myself up. And sometimes I do fairly simple looks, sometimes I do fairly dramatic looks. You don't need to wear makeup to get in front of the camera. I want to stress that. I do this for fun. And I'm sure if you check out my social media presence, you'll definitely see me without makeup plenty of times. Because it depends entirely on how you feel, and for me, this is what I feel like today. I feel like colors, I feel like a bit of ethereal, magical energy, casting a spell on you and all that. And yeah, it has really nothing to do with the theme. I just like to make things look. Though I have realized that all of these on my forehead, I need to make sure I don't touch them, because I keep touching them and they keep falling off my face. Surprise, surprise. All right, focus Zoe. Okay, back to community questions. And we are going to touch on ones from Harriet, Oliver, and Henry. These are going to be relating to content, so if I repeat myself a little bit, do not worry. Essentially, these community questions are my opportunity to answer people's questions succinctly, quickly, and without rambling. Does that happen? We will find out. And it doesn't usually happen. But the point is I'm trying. I'm trying. And I then repurpose these on social media. I take these as an opportunity to fortify some of my articles and my tools that I have in my toolbox on my website. Again, that website is vcc.training. I know I'm pushing that a lot, but that's just where everything is. And currently at the moment I'm updating it. So it has a lot of my focus at the moment, outside of obviously client work and running workshops and helping people, as you can probably imagine. But at the moment, it's a lot of my focus on at the moment, just because it's a lot of work and I want to do my best to get the website at a level that people can use and consistently use over time. So focusing on what we have. And now we will get on to the community questions. You need to make sure that you are keeping an eye on your competitors on these platforms. What are they doing? What can you do differently? Not the same. What can you do differently that'll help you stand out from them? Because if people are finding your competitors, that means that they are in that realm of looking for someone like you. So now, of course, for those who may know me, I don't exactly call competitors. I usually call them collaborators or potential collaborators, depending on the work that you do. But when explaining concepts to people, it's better just to use the words that people are more familiar with. And if someone is looking for something, most of the time if they're on a social media platform, they're going to look for what they need. Your competitors are going to show up and you should be there too. Does your online presence feel inconsistent, and do you suspect that you're not effectively and clearly communicating what you do to other people so they understand? Welcome to the world of personal branding, my friend, and do not worry, that is a feeling that we all have all the time, whether we like it or not. But I'm going to establish this for you, Harriet, who asked me this particular question. How do I make my personal brand look more consistent online? So the way we do this is establishing a couple of things first. We establish who you're talking to, and I'm not talking broad demographics here. I'm talking a really clear understanding of who you're talking to. Where do they go? Where do they look? What do they respond well to? Are they someone who prefers a nice written out article or blog? Are they someone who prefers a video or a podcast? Do they like color? Do they not like color? What are you trying to give them to both attract their attention, but also this helps dictate and take away the overwhelm for you to do everything, because you're doing this for your audience. And that is how you stay consistent, not just with your marketing and your branding or your presence online, but how you conduct yourself, growing your personal brand or your business. So then you do this. This then is the little kernel that sprouts into how your things look. So you can build templates, or you can have consistent color schemes, maybe even little motifs like do you prefer rounder edges or harder edges? Again, there are plenty of tools out there online that can help you do this. But again, it all stems from who you're doing this for. And then who you're doing this for, maybe you can do some things to delight them or surprise them. Either way, being able to be more consistent online is about meeting their needs while also doing it in your own capacity. Are you someone that has to post 18 times a day? Maybe not. You can do this by scaling it back to maybe 2 times a week on social media, while focusing your resources and your time on an area that you can control, be it your website, be it your email list. These are places that you can control a lot more consistently, and the people who are going to really like what you do are going to join those lists, are going to go to your website. That is who you need to focus on. Social media is nice, but when keeping this all consistent for yourself, you need to focus on who you're serving. You've got this, Harriet. A podcast is very much in the same realm of promoting yourself and your business as networking. Networking is not necessarily going to guarantee you money, guarantee you leads, because networking is about connecting with people. Do you suspect that your message is a bit too broad and making your marketing efforts less effective? Do not worry, Oliver, I have got you. Your question was, how do I make my message more specific so the right people notice? I am Zoë Wood, your video confidence coach, and essentially what it means by making your message more specific really helps to know who you're talking to. And I'm not talking broad demographics, I'm talking really specifically who you're talking to. This then dictates the services and the products you provide, the work that you do to grow your personal brand. Because again, your personal brand is your reputation, and when you are working on projects or collaborating with other people, your audience will come with you because they like what you do. And if you want your message to be very specific, it needs to resonate to the people that you need to help. There's no point in keeping anything too generic or too bland. That's what AI is for. That's what old companies are for. You are not either of those things. You are growing your personal brand. To do so, you need to be specifically talking and affecting the people that you're there to serve. You've got this, Oliver. Really clear goal. You have like 12 episodes that you need to fill, and you have a really clear audience member or type of customer or type of listener in mind, so that when that 12 is done, if you're doing really well and you're enjoying it and it's awesome, you can continue going. How do you talk in a way that... Blech. Here I go again. Oops. Don't talk about my services, not clearly. How do I talk about my services in a clear way so my audiences understand quickly? Well, first off, you need to clearly understand who your audience is. I am Zoë Wood, your video confidence coach, and I'm here to help you with everything personal branding and video marketing, as you can probably imagine. But with your particular question, Henry, when it comes to clearly articulating to your audience, you need to know exactly who they are. You need to know what they understand. You need to know what their levels are at. So are they someone who understands jargon or those words, the letters, the things that right here? Do they understand what those mean? If they don't, then you need to be able to you need to be able to not dumb down your language, but use the language that makes sense to the people who are watching you. Are they someone who, like, if you go down to, say, an 8th grade or lower reading level, will you be clearer? Will you make more sense? Remember, appealing to human emotions is a great place to start, because even though your solution or the value that you bring to someone may be very logical in its approach, we are all humans and emotional beings at the end of the day, and we make decisions based on emotion. Can they trust that you know what you're talking about? Can they trust that you have the experience to be able to help them? You need to be able to clearly articulate that. And it helps by making sure that the value that you give is articulated and clearly demonstrated. You've got this, Henry. It's not just me by myself. I have other people that I'm networking with, that I have connections with. Thank you for joining me on those community questions. I realized halfway through that for the past couple of community questions, I haven't actually mentioned my name. I'm Zoë Wood, your video confidence coach. I'm like, crap. That's all right. I'll edit that later. And yes, I do realize I have had some comments saying that I have been repeating myself in these community questions. So I am editing those down. So I am going to try and remove that repetition. I guess it's just a case of when I am going off the cuff, because that's what these are. I'm not scripting these. I'm just like, here's a question. Cool. This is how I'd answer it in real life. I do find that to be able to get the answer across to people, especially people that I'm new to, repeating myself, and I use a formula that I developed called the ASR formula, which is essentially answer, story, recap, and usually the answer and the recap kind of coincide with each other. And this is just a natural format at this point that I fall into. This is a thing that I use to be able to give you the answer that you need, give you reasons behind it with a story or a backup, or like go into a bit more detail and then recap it at the end so you remember why I gave the answer at the start. This is kind of like a default thing that I have developed over time. This is what I'm practiced in. And when it comes to answering questions, especially off the cuff ones here that are just... here's a question, here's a little bit of context, give your answer, Zoe. I am repeating myself because I'm not following a script. Which is probably not the most effective way to do it, and probably not the most easiest way to do it, but I am here doing it. And especially for myself and possibly you watching, you've probably felt this need to be perfect, felt this drive to constantly push for perfection. And this year I am pushing for done is better than perfect. That is what I'm pushing for. And it is something that I've had to really drill myself into this year because it's been really hard. But done is better than perfect. Could it have been better? Yes. Can I improve it later? Cool. Will I? Is it getting the value across? Yes. Is it getting the message across? Yes. That is more important, because you need to hear these things to help grow your personal brand. And that is what I'm here for. I'm Zoë Wood, your video confidence coach. I'm helping you grow your personal brand with video. And to do that, you need to know these answers. And my BSM is getting it done. And I'm getting it done. I'm getting it done. All right. Woo! All right, so we are carrying on to our podcast episode today. Now, as you can imagine, this is going to be a little bit longer. I actually have a script for this one. Do I follow it? Maybe. When I say maybe, I mean no. But we are going to do our best to follow the script on this one so that I can present it correctly. Not just for myself, not for Carla, but also for Judy. So get ready, and I'll see you on the other side. And when it comes to your work as a business owner, unless marketing your business is a hobby for you, it can feel like a slog. So using social media to promote your business. And that is the goal when it comes to the work that you're doing while you're on social media in the first place. Yes, there is the connection that you get from interacting with fans or with potential customers. There is the opportunities as a business to advertise and reach those potentially new clients, or maybe people who have heard of you, or even people who you've worked with in the past or who have purchased from you in the past. They can be reminded of your existence and go, oh, yeah, I really liked, what I bought from them, my services from them. Oh, I should hire them again. All right, I'll look into it. That prompt, that acknowledgement. But when it comes to using these social media platforms to organically reach people, that has become less and less achievable over time, just because of the amount of stuff that is on these platforms, because it is what a lot of people see, especially who are starting out in business, as a free marketing tool. And that's because it is. Like, you're not giving up any money up front. You're not. When your brand doesn't match the caliber of clients that you want to attract, it costs you more than you would like to admit. Let me give you an example. G'day and welcome to the Unboring Your Brand podcast with me, your host, Zoë Wood, your video confidence coach. And we're back from the intro. And today we're looking into a client success story from one of my a really enjoyable client that I enjoy working with, called Carla Egan from Carla Egan Consulting. Now, this was brought on by another of my good collaborators out in the wonderful internet world, Judy Murdoch of Marketing Rootwork. So on my Substack, which recently put out there, so if you joined me from Substack, please do let me know. She essentially asked me, when I put out one of my first episodes on the platform, she asked, would you be up for sharing some client stories, re, how you helped them create a strategy or put it in motion in future podcasts? That would be really inspiring for me and help me understand your distinctive approach for helping clients. I want to sincerely thank you, Judy. This series of client success stories that I'm going to be bringing to you is going to be all thanks to you, Judy. And I really help and I really appreciate your perspective for me to actually get this out there. Of course, this episode will definitely relate to you if you are someone who is working on patchwork jobs that you've gotten from Fiverr years ago, or you just haven't really spent the time focusing on your personal brand because you're there with your clients. But then when the referrals dry up, where the word of mouth dries up, or for unforeseen circumstances in the timeline that we're living in, you find that you are out of control because the way that people perceive you is not necessarily the way you wish to be perceived and the reputation that you have gained in your industry or niche. That is what we are here for today. And if I have interested you or intrigued you, please do carry on listening or watching however you're enjoying the podcast today. So, back in the beginning. So, Carla Egan is ultimately a really good client of mine. We have worked together for yonks through many different projects and through many different businesses and projects that she's worked through and through many different ventures. But I wanted to specifically highlight the work that we did together on Carla Egan Consulting as a way of reinvigorating her branding. And I'm not talking just just the graphics or anything like that. We're talking about a full brand refresh that involved establishing herself as the expert that she is in her field, and I'll get into a bit more later in the episode, using her personal brand as the tool that it is meant to be. And I want to carry on and give you a little bit of context as to why that is. So, imagine this. You're a consultant with over 12 years experience. To be honest, even more than that. You have an impeccably strong track record, and the clients that you've worked with all throughout corporate, in the C-suite, even through smaller businesses and government bodies, all on paper, everything checks out. You are the gold star. You are the winner. Da-da-da-da-da. But when you appear online, you don't have a website. Your social media is barren or left to dust. You haven't posted in 6 or 7 years, which don't worry, I feel you. And your logo, the thing that you're using to pitch yourself to these clients and to these potential clients is like, it's keeping in mind, this is in your pitch decks. This is in your emails. This is in your proposals. This is in anywhere that they find you online. This logo is a 5-year-old Fiverr job that you were never really happy with, and you never really found the time to change or update or even support that change because you just didn't have the bandwidth to really understand what you even needed, let alone what you needed to change. Come in, Carla Egan, who is a proud Wodja woman from Western Victoria, now based on Wadawurrung country. She is an Indigenous leadership coach, mentor, facilitator, and her passion is helping leaders create real, lasting change. She, now of course, the work that she does expands beyond just the title and the information that I've just given you about her. She is a leadership coach for leaders who are ultimately feeling unsafe at the moment, and they may need to lead Indigenous staff in their teams, or maybe they themselves are Indigenous. Either way, that identity is very core to how you lead and the work that you do, no matter what that work is. And you, Carla always walks into the room and brings the goods every time. She is meticulous, she is consistent, and she preps all the time. She is very good at what she does. I've seen her in action. And she comes in not just with the goods, with every room that she walks into, but she comes with the experience. She comes with the qualifications, the lived knowledge, but also just her presence. She has walked into the most chaotic rooms available that are out there, and she's been able to turn them around. Yes, from the top down, because the leaders ultimately need that support, and usually when it comes to corporates, they're the ones that get the support. But because your leaders should be there to support you. If you aren't yourself a leader, your leaders should be there to support you. But a lot of the time, the leaders that are there have been promoted there because either they did really good at their job, so that's why they're up there, or they did really bad at their job, and that's why they're up there, or they've shown some leadership skills, but then have been given no training whatsoever and just shoved into the leadership role because of reasons. That is not how a corporation, a business, a government body should be treating their leaders. These are the people who are going to, help you, help the rest of your team get the work done. They need the training to make sure that they lead properly. Of course, this is all my biasy, but I'm going to stress that. Carla comes in with the goods, but the digital face of her business is not keeping up with that. A quote that she gave me after we had finished our work together was, "Big thanks, Zoe, for the new look you gave my business branding. It finally feels like me, and I'm kicking myself for not engaging you earlier." That's going to be a bit of foreshadowing into the rest of today's episode. And you may feel that with the types of clients that she's working with, especially those in C-suite or in leadership roles, why would they care what her digital presence looks like? Have you ever Googled anyone? Have you ever been given a name or given some advice from a friend and say, hey, check this person out? And even if you do get a glowing word of mouth recommendation for something, you still research, right? You may trust your loved ones, your friends, or maybe even your co-workers, but you still research them. Your digital presence is and should be a reflection of how you do business. Because yes, it attracts your potential new leads, but it also establishes your credibility, not just online, but anywhere that you do business, because it carries through and permeates. We are in the digital age. It is going to permeate through everything that you do. And of course, the work that we do is not just digital, but we will carry on with today's... No, I'm going to stop that. We're going to carry on with the story that I have laid out in front of me because I got a script. We'll cut that part, Zoe, because that makes sense. Her content was inconsistent, to say the best. Her brand, the things that she used, the things that she relied on, outside of, say, a photo of herself, felt like an afterthought, and she treated it like one at the time. She started to feel embarrassment and that little pang in her chest when it came time to sending a proposal or showing up online, all the work that she put in, keeping in mind these things are detailed. And she would put it in front of the very clients who were hiring large teams and want serious consultants. And because she knew the truth, she didn't feel confident in the branding that she was putting out there, in the self that she was putting out there. Not just digitally, mind you, but in the work that she was doing throughout networking and getting herself out there. So, carry on to, we started working together. So specifically for this project, keeping in mind that we had worked together through multiple different projects, businesses, and a couple of things. So we were fairly familiar with each other. But up to this point, this particular project, we started with a very intensive 75-day period. We started with an intensive 45-day period. Now, I don't want to scare you, if that's what you need. Because we were setting up the foundational base of everything that she was doing, not just her business marketing or the way that she presented digitally online, but her business direction. Because included in this brand refresh was the logo, was customer avatar clarity. And if you're unaware of what a customer avatar is, essentially it's an amalgamation or ultimately a made-up person, but with really clear objectives so that you can clearly, articulately message and market to these people, make business decisions based on the people who you are there to serve. We're not talking broad demographics. I have never met someone who is a man who is between the ages of 50 and 60 in the one person. You have these people that you've met and that you've worked with in real life. And we are 9+ billion people in this world. And if you want to be successful in growing your personal brand, growing your influence, getting your message heard, you need to be very clear about those people. And of course, with that comes the clarity and the, honestly, lack of pushing off that overwhelm when you are unsure what you are doing. Why? Because you know who you're talking to, you know why you're talking to them, and your values align. Your message aligns. Your content plan supports everything that you're doing, and the tools that you have in your arsenal to refer back to almost on a daily, let alone hourly basis, are there for you to use consistently. And that is what Carla got. So we worked on something that wasn't just a cosmetic, let's give you a new logo. I am not a graphic designer. I work with people on getting that graphic design work done. But we pivoted her focus specifically towards, instead of just general branding of, hey, I'm a leadership coach, I've got experience, I know what I'm doing. She specifically tailored herself towards supporting Indigenous staff and leaders of those Indigenous staff in the workplace. Her brand needed to reflect that pivot. Her brand needed to reflect that pivot clearly and confidently, and more importantly, consistently. And yes, when you come across people who say, hey, do you know someone who is a good leadership coach, and And you're like, okay, I've got a couple in my mind. You've got a couple in your network. Oh, I need someone specifically who has experience with Indigenous staff. You immediately know who you need to talk to, and you immediately know who you need to bring on board. Need to bring in Carla. That is what is happening all throughout the world, every single day, multiple times a day, with multiple different people. You are doing this unconsciously in your workplace, in your family life, when you are talking with other people. This is how communities happen. And this is unconsciously happening. Why? Because you are able to be specific. And that is what your personal brand is doing. Your brand is helping you support your specificness. So in turn, you get the work. You're not being general. You are not an AI. You are not you're not a slapdash like paint job on the side of an old bus. You are specific. You have a specific problem that you are fixing. You have a specific solution that you are providing. And that is what your personal brand should do and be consistently doing. Back to, I'm going to stop that. My apologies. I'm going on rants, coming back to my script, and then I find myself I need to kind of reorientate myself. I can just pause, Zoe, and so can you. So the kind of work that we did together, as you can imagine, was a slightly longer project, but we started off by what is closely related to in my service offerings as the Glow and Grow branding session. So this is my 90-minute consultation where we essentially extended that over the 45-day period to incorporate all the different elements of the stuff that we were working together. The Glow and Grow branding session that I run is 90 minutes long, and you get very clear outputs from it, like a PDF, recordings, breakdown of everything we discussed. But we use that Glow and Grow session as the basis for then continually working together over those 45 days. Because again, this is a very major pivot she was making. Like I said, it wasn't just a logo. It was going to be a very big pivot in her business that it was going to be reflected all throughout, not just her digital self, but in the way that she was going to conduct business. So this is going to take some time. So we did this process obviously over an extended engagement, and this kind of process was built around Carla. So it wasn't a one size fits all template. And if you were wanting something like this or want something like Carla received, we can definitely talk about it. I like to use my pre-existing services as like the foundation and the benchmark, and then we work our way up from there. One of the most important things that we built together was a really clear picture about her customer avatar, of which I want to say is something that we consistently evolve and consistently update as she gets more data, as she gets more information about the people that she wants to work with and the people, more importantly, she doesn't want to work with. And this is not just like a once-off. It's a living document that is reviewed each year, but is honestly reviewed every time we catch up with each other, and is going to detail her marketing shift. A quote she gave me recently was, over the past 4 years, now, of course, we have worked together longer now, but you get the idea. Zoe has really helped my business by guiding me to a better understanding of who my customers are, improving how I communicate my message, and helping me build a stronger social media plan, and even producing a podcast. And speaking of which, we produced a podcast together called Meet the Coach, a Carla Egan consulting podcast. This was a 2-season limited run podcast where she was using it as a platform for another project that we were working with, which we can get into later, called The Coaching Directory, which has now been closed successfully. And I want to congratulate Carla on the work that she did in that space. We also rejigged the podcast to better reflect her knowledge as the leader that she is. She is someone with experience, and we used a podcast as a way of being able to cement that knowledge, and it wasn't an ongoing thing. You are watching or listening to the Unboring Your Brand podcast that I release every week because I enjoy the process. I enjoy this, surprisingly, and not everyone does. But having an available podcast, so you can check it out in the show notes, Meet the Coach, and it's available like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen, on any of your podcatching catchers of choice. We produced it to get a bigger picture of her presence and letting her voice lead in a way that is more accessible to the people that are going to ultimately hire her. Because the people who are going to make these decisions are usually stressed, usually overwhelmed, usually time poor. And the way that they consume information is going to be very different depending on your customer avatar. So that's why we lay the foundations of things that we can use repeatedly, but also have guaranteed long-term shelf life. Yes, social media is very fickle, algorithms, all that good stuff. But we use that as a base and one tool as a part of many in the toolbox that she uses for her color Eaton consulting brand. So, of course, we finished the Glow and Grow session together, and Carla paused and said to me, "We've built something together that will work and has worked and will continue to work." And that really struck me, because what I realized, the work that we had done together, not just over those 45 days, but as I will allude to in a second, we consistently update this. This is not just the custom avatar as a living document, but this is something that we work on together over time. We bolster those foundations so we can continue to build onwards and upwards. The podcast, she is happy to leave as is, because it continues to get her work, because it's good. You just leave it there and it does the job. And it has a very long-term shelf life in the digital space. And coming back to the work that we're doing with not just her branding or the graphic design logo, yes, she uses her logo every day, but she also uses LinkedIn every day. She also drafts her proposals, hopefully not every day, but very often. And that relief that she felt after our work together was ultimately certainty. And I really hope that you still continue to feel that certainty even to this day. Carla, I really appreciate the time that we spend together. And I really hope for the first time that you don't feel like you are doing your marketing off the top of your head and just reacting to one-off situations, because you had a plan, and the plan you ultimately believed in, and hopefully, and of course we've chatted since then, I know this for a fact, but I didn't want to say like any guarantees because I don't want to stress that to you. Of course, when you are a lot more focused and a lot more articulate, you are going to guarantee more leads, more quality leads, because you are very clear about your messaging. And you are going to also, I can definitely guarantee that things are going to change because you are going to show up differently. You are going to have that clarity and that sense of focus, not just for your brand, but for every decision that you make. And back to Carla, we spend, so every 3 months or so, we have about a golden hour reset, which again is one of my services on the Video Competence Coach, where essentially we spend time, not necessarily as accountability calls, but more purposeful reviews of the content that we've already put out. How's it performing? How's it doing? What the data is saying, what the market is doing, and then where her brand needs to evolve and move next, again with the foundations that we've already set in place. Because your personal brand is an ever-evolving thing, as you, as a human, are an ever-evolving thing. And with the work that I've done with Carla, I hope that she continues to feel that relief and the certainty that she has that stuff there. It's there, it's doing its job. And if anything does come up, we can evolve, we can pivot, we can change. Because that's what your brand should be doing. And also I wanted to highlight that every year we run a Glow and Grow session that we're able to use as essentially a platform for the next 12 months. We usually do this around the start of the year out in sunny Torquay, but it's whenever it occurs for both of us. And we use that time to really reflect on, say, any avatar insights that we've gathered over that time. Has the message landed? Do we need to tweak? Do we need to pivot? And what shifts we need to make? Because again, we've got that foundation. We just need to tweak and pivot depending on what factors outside of her control are doing, and then bring it back to what she can control and her little locus of control that we can do to better showcase her personal brand to the world. The ultimate transformation here was not a prettier logo. I feel like it is, but not just a prettier logo. It was Carla moving from uncertainty and embarrassment of her brand to being proud to put it in front of clients because she is absolutely qualified to be there. She's got the experience and she knows what she's doing. Her branding needs to reflect that. And it does, and it did. Yay. Recapping everything we discussed today, a strong brand is not about being loud, despite how I may be. It is about making sure that the version of you, the professional version of you that you shows up online matches what the expert in the room is. You in the room should be the same person that you are when you're growing a personal brand. And that comes with clarity of your customer avatar. Because it's not just a one-time job, it is something that needs to grow and sharpen over time as you gather more data. But you need to have a place to start off with to start. And the work that we did with Carla was, yes, a first 45 days of focused work, but this was about setting a foundation that is going to last her the rest of her career. And this is going to help her be more consistent in her marketing efforts. Of course, we've experimented with video and finding that her audience don't entirely resonate with video, but that's okay. We've still got stuff in the foundation that we can use, and we use what works on the platforms that she chooses to be on. When it comes to rebranding yourself and growing your personal brand, as I say in the grow part of personal brand, it is not an overhaul of everything at all at once, despite how I may feel every time I do it. It's about starting with the pieces that are costing you the clients right now, and then making the changes that you can do consistently to affect an ongoing rhythm, whether quarterly, annually, or whatever keeps your brand sharp. The fact is that you're constantly growing. And I'm so proud of you, Carla. Thank you for joining me on this breakdown of the Carla Egan Consulting brand that I worked with Carla, and we continue to work today. So hi. Hopefully I'll let you know that I posted this podcast and break down everything that we've talked on. If you are listening to or watching this podcast, feel free to check up or feel free to put in your next lineup of episodes of the Unboring Your Brand podcast, which is episode 47 and 79. 47 is Your Strong Brand Playbook, where, of course, we cover all the 5 key elements of a strong personal brand, which we touched on today in Carla's brand. Those 5 elements are strong, which are authenticity, clear messaging, visual consistency, and the other 2, which you'll have to find out when the podcast, because I did not put them in my notes, because I'm smart. And then we've got episode 79, Rebrand Without the Breakdown. Hey, look, it's highly relevant to this episode, because I thought about this. This episode ultimately speaks to evolving a personal brand without losing that momentum and pairing ongoing check-ins with a foundation that you've already spent time on. Yes, the foundation is hard, but once you've done it, you're going to be glad that you do it because you're going to be using it every damn day. And I say that on behalf of my clients and also myself. So if you if you are someone who is currently putting up with whatever you're putting, if you are currently someone who's just putting up with it for now, because what you're currently sending to potential clients, whether it's proposal, links to the website, email signature, a video, an image, document, and you look at it and you feel that cringe, you feel that disappointment in yourself, and you embody your client and you look at it and you go, does this match the level of work that I do? Ultimately, sit yourself down. And if you've got some maybe business mentors or maybe people in your community or maybe even some family and friends, obviously take what they say with a grain of salt, and they think about the type of person that you work with and they embody it and they look at it and they go, and the answer that they gives you a bit of a flicker of embarrassment, it means that it needs attention. You don't need to do everything straight away, but I want you to note this down, preferably in your calendar or maybe somewhere where you actually are going to take action and not just file it away in a diary or a book somewhere. It's a starting point for you to recognize this feeling. And if you need to, I'm happy to book in a Glow and Grow branding session on my website where we can clear that fog, just like we did with Carla, and we cover your brand identity, marketing message, and customer avatar all in the same session. And if you're unsure about maybe taking that much of a leap, totally understand, you can check out the Disco Chat where we have 13 minutes and I can find out the next step for you that will help you achieve your goals. Thank you for joining us. Ugh. See? See? Told you. See? Told you this episode would be useful for you. We welcome anyone who'd like to try live streaming into the Help Me Build My Business Australia Facebook group. Think of it as an opportunity to practice and build your confidence with an audience of people who are willing to support you. And that is totally true. That's exactly what we do here. We want to support you, not necessarily just in the live, but in the lead up to it. Like I mentioned before, Amanda's been my cheerleader. Woo! In messages and in comments and in prompts leading up to today's presentation. And that's what we do. We provide support and we give you that cheerleading and that boost up before the... Thank you everyone for your comments, your questions, your thoughts, and your camera-ready confessions in the comments of the live stream. And if you're watching in the replay, you can always check down below and I'll make sure to respond. If you've missed any part of today's stream, you can watch or listen to the whole live stream on the website vcc.training/camera-ready-confessions. All right, moving on to next week. All right. Okay. You've got the point, but it just somehow turns into a 5-minute loop, just constantly rambling on video where it's a sneaky habit that just kind of sticks into your brain and ends up falling out of your mouth like a bleh. And it makes you feel like you're less clear than you actually are because you are the expert. You start strong and then you second guess and then you trip over yourself with one more thing and then suddenly your message just turns into a little punch in the gut and you go, ooh. This slows down your content momentum, it confuses your loyal audience, and it makes hitting record feel heavier than it ever has the right to be. Join me, Zoë Wood, your video confidence coach, on Camera Ready Confessions this Friday where we stop, break. Join me, your host, Zoë Wood, the video confidence coach, for this Camera Ready Confessions coming up where we break down what this rambling means in your head, because it all starts in your head. And then from here, we go through what really is going on in your brain. I just realized I started that again. Thank you. I'm going to have to repeat that again. Join me, Zoë Wood, your video confidence coach, for this week's Camera Ready Confessions, where we break down really deep into your brain, because that's where it all starts, as to why rambling happens in the first place, and making sure that we break down why it feels like it doesn't land. But you'll find a way to clearly and confidently deliver with the formats that I already have in place. And don't worry, it's not extra homework. This is stuff that you can incorporate into your daily life and the way that you build your business brand every single day, and a pattern that you can help you to move that overwhelm to something less messy so you can be visibly and consistently confident, build trust on camera. Catch it live this Friday at 10 a.m. Melbourne time, or watch it on the replay whenever it suits you. Confess your camera sins next week. Same time, same place. I stumbled over my own words in the thing about stumbling over your own words. Aha!